there's a hidden principle that elite performers guard like a secret weapon. It's not about grinding harder or pushing through pain. It's about understanding that steel isn't the strongest material on Earth. Spider silk is, and it's flexible. While everyone's chasing bulletproof resilience, the real winners know something different. The ability to bend is what makes you unbreakable. Miss this, and pressure will shatter you every single time. What if your strength is actually your weakness? Here's something nobody tells you about toughness. It's a trap. The toughest trees in the forest are the first ones to snap during hurricanes. Meanwhile, reeds and bamboo bend almost horizontal and spring back up when it's over. Nature figured this out millions of years ago. We're still catching up. High performers obsess over building armor, thicker skin, harder mentality, zero emotion. They think invincibility means being impenetrable. But here's the brutal truth. Impenetrable things don't survive impact. They explode. Look at tempered glass. Incredibly hard. Touch it wrong? Shatters into 1,000 pieces. Now, at fighter pilots, during high G maneuvers, they don't tense up. They use specific breathing techniques and body positioning to stay flexible while pulling 9 times their body weight. Tense up during that? Blackout. Game over. Flexibility under extreme pressure isn't optional. It's survival. The Roman legions conquered the known world not because they were the toughest warriors. They were the most adaptable. While their enemies charged with rage and rigid tactics, Romans adjusted formations mid-battle. They had the testudo for arrows, the wedge for breaking lines, the rappel for cavalry. Same soldiers, infinite configurations. That's flexibility, weaponized. Your brain works the same way. When you lock into one perspective, one plan, one emotional response, you're building brittleness, not strength. And life has a nasty habit of testing brittleness until it cracks. Think about your last meltdown. Chances are it wasn't because something catastrophic happened. It was because reality didn't match your rigid expectation, and you had zero flexibility to adjust. The plan failed. The person disappointed you. The outcome shifted, and you broke because bending felt like losing. But here's what separates champions from casualties. Champions have anchor points, not anchor chains. They're rooted in purpose, but fluid in execution. They know the difference between compromising values and adapting tactics. One is betrayal. The other is intelligence. The question isn't whether you'll face pressure, it's whether you'll have enough internal flexibility to absorb it without shattering your core. So what happens when rigidity becomes your identity? How do you stay solid without becoming brittle? There's a metallurgy concept called work hardening. When you bend metal repeatedly, it gets harder but more brittle. Eventually, it snaps. The same thing happens to people who confuse endurance with invincibility. They keep grinding, keep pushing, keep staying strong till they don't. And when they break, it's catastrophic. Special forces operators go through something called stress inoculation training. They're exposed to controlled chaos, simulated gunfire, sleep deprivation, impossible scenarios, not to make them harder, but to increase their operational flexibility under duress. They learn to make decisions when their brain is screaming, their body is failing, and nothing is going according to plan. That's the real skill. Not performing when everything's perfect, adjusting when everything's on fire. Look at Kobe Bryant's career. After his Achilles injury, he couldn't play the same way. His body had limits. But instead of breaking mentally, he developed an entirely new playing style, took more mid-range shots, mentored younger players, adapted his value. He bent his approach while keeping his competitive core intact. That's mastery. Now compare that to athletes who refuse to evolve. They keep forcing the same moves their aging bodies can't execute. They'd rather break than adapt. Pride becomes their prison, and it ends careers. Your mental game is identical. When you cling to outdated strategies because, this is how I've always done it, you're choosing rigidity over results. When you refuse to update your perspective because changing your mind feels like weakness, you're building fragility into your foundation. The antifragile mindset isn't about being unbreakable. It's about getting stronger from breaks. Nassim Taleb wrote an entire book on this. Systems that benefit from chaos don't resist it, they dance with it. They have optionality, multiple pathways, room to maneuver. Imagine a bridge that can't sway. Every heavy truck, every strong wind, every earthquake sends shockwaves through rigid steel. Now imagine a suspension bridge. It moves, absorbs, distributes force across flexible cables. Which one lasts longer? Which one handles the unexpected? You need internal suspension cables, core principles that don't move, supported by flexible strategies that can. Without both, you're either shapeless or breakable. Neither wins long term. The military has a saying, no plan survives first contact with the enemy. The rigid planner panics. The flexible tactician thrives. What if the thing you call discipline is actually just fear of change? Why do the most successful people look effortless under pressure? Watch someone elite perform under chaos. A surgeon during a complication, a CEO during a market crash, a pilot during engine failure. They don't look stressed. They look focused. Why? Because they've built psychological flexibility into their operating system. There's a concept in martial arts called mushin, the mind without mind. It's not about being empty. It's about being so adaptable that you respond perfectly without overthinking. You see the punch coming and your body adjusts before your brain registers fear. That's what high-level performance looks like. Flexible response at subconscious speed. Navy SEALs train something called tactical breathing for exactly this reason. When chaos hits, your body wants to lock up. Heart rate spikes, vision tunnels, you become rigid. The breathing technique forces physiological flexibility, which creates mental flexibility, which enables tactical adaptation. It's a chain reaction. Now bring this to your daily life. How often do you lock up emotionally when something unexpected happens? Someone criticizes you, immediate defensiveness. A plan falls apart, instant panic. A relationship shifts, total rigidity. That's your system lacking flexibility training. Elite performers pre-build flexibility through scenario planning. Fighter pilots run through dozens of emergency scenarios before they ever fly, not to memorize rigid responses, but to train their mind to stay fluid under pressure. So when the real emergency hits, they don't freeze or force, they flow. Jeff Bezos has a principle: be stubborn on vision, flexible on details. Amazon has pivoted from bookstore to everything store to cloud computing to streaming. The vision stayed constant. The methods evolved constantly. That's the line rule in action. Bend the tactics, never the mission. You need the same framework. What's non-negotiable in your life? Your health, your values, your core relationships. Those are the steel rods. Everything else, negotiable. Your timeline can flex. Your methods can change. Your ego can take hits. Those are the suspension cables that keep your structure standing when storms come. Because storms always come. And when they do, rigid structures don't just break. They collapse completely, taking everything with them. Hit the like button if you've ever mistaken stubbornness for strength. Drop flex in the comments if this clicks something in your brain. This might be the shift you needed. How do warriors stay unbreakable? They learn to bend. There's an old samurai teaching: the bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists. It's not poetry, it's physics. Bamboo survives typhoons that destroy ancient trees. Why? Because it has mastered the art of strategic surrender without losing integrity. Strategic surrender isn't giving up. It's giving in to reality so you can outlast it. It's acknowledging that some forces are too strong to oppose directly, so you redirect, absorb, and wait for your moment. That's not weakness. That's tactical genius. Look at water fighting rock. Water doesn't try to smash through. It flows around, seeps in, freezes, expands, and eventually splits the rock from inside. Time plus flexibility beats force plus rigidity every single time. In business, companies that refuse to pivot die. Toys R Us refuse to adapt to online retail. Dead. Blockbuster refused to embrace streaming. Dead. Meanwhile, Netflix started as DVD mail service and became streaming giant. Nintendo went from playing cards to video games to mobile apps. Flexibility kept them alive for over a century. Your career is the same. The skills that got you here won't get you there. The mindset that worked at 20 breaks you at 40. If you're not constantly updating your internal software, You're running outdated code in a system that demands constant evolution. Relationships demand this too. People grow, needs change, communication styles shift. The couple that stays together isn't the one that never changes. It's the one that bends together instead of breaking apart. Rigidity kills connection, flexibility deepens it. Here's the final truth. Bending takes more strength than breaking. Anyone can snap under pressure. That's the easy path. The hard path is maintaining your core while everything around you shifts. That's what separates pretenders from legends. So ask yourself, are you built to break or built to bend? Because pressure is coming either way. The only choice you have is how you respond. Subscribe if you want real strategies for sustainable high performance. Like this video if it changed how you see strength, and share it with someone who's about to break because they think flexibility equals weakness. Comment below, what's one area where you've been too rigid?